Welcome to the community hotline for the community, by the community, presented by 88 Media. Today, I'm your host, Mr. Bob Fang, and we have a very special guest, Mr. CIA. All right, why don't you introduce yourself, please, sir?
Hello, everybody, friends. My name is Alexis Garcia, but I go by Alex, go by Charlie. I go by a lot of names, a lot of aliases. But you guys can call me Alex for the remainder.
Alexis?
What was that? I'm sorry.
Your mom named you Alexis?
That's actually my dad's name.
Oh, okay.
So I'm the junior.
Got it. How many juniors are there? Do you have siblings?
I have a younger brother, but his name's Brandon. So
Okay.
They actually, you want to know just a quick thing? You want to know why they called him? Was what my dad told me. Reason why they called him Brandon was because I think around that time was it Brandon Lee was like the big thing. So this is like the late '90s. That's why they called him Brandon. But that's what he told me. That's what he told me.
That's
so,
funny.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today. Let's move into let's get right into it. First topic of the day, which is money. Tell us, what is money?
Money. The green, el dinero, the money, just something you use to make voluntary transactions with other people is regarding services, sort all those kinds of things, et cetera, et cetera. But
has your understanding of money changed when you were in high school to now?
Oh yeah, no, definitely. Like I think right before high school, towards the end of it, I didn't really pay much attention to it. It just so happened that after I left, I guess towards the beginning of my time in college, and up until now, it flipped completely since then. So
over the top. When did it flip? Do you have any specific moments in those times where you were like, oh, this happened to me, and this is when my
see, here's the thing, and I don't know if it's gonna. I don't know if politics, I'd rather not talk about politics, but this is just because that's regarding the topic of money. That's how it kind of, got itself mixed up with, right after, I think I want to say 2012 was right around the time I was like, man, like I started reading about the Federal Reserve and stuff like that. And that's actually what kind of got me to switch like completely all of my beliefs, or at least learn something regarding money, and then just kind of be like, oh, there's more to it. And a little bit after that, I kept reading more and more about what money was and how it worked and what it was being backed by and all that stuff. And then, around that time.
What got you into reading stuff? What happened in 2012?
Well, it was right around the election time. And right around that time, I was starting to get more politically, I guess, involved. Just when I used to have a Facebook, and this is, regarding that also, I had a Facebook account, and I would always, you'd see politics just the way Facebook is, and, all the stuff in there. And I would be one of those people who would get involved and do all this stuff. And you get a lot of information, a lot of stuff. And it just so happened that, who was it? I think Jesse Ventura, around that time, I don't know, Jesse the Body Ventura was actually talking about, right around that time, an individual by the name of Ron Paul, and he was promoting a book regarding the Federal Reserve. And I was like, okay, but he kept talking about him over and over again, and the topic kept coming up. And I was like, you know what? I might as well just read it, or look at what it is. And then after I started, digging into getting into that rabbit hole, it kind of like the money stuff just started coming in there, and like all the gold and it like I said, it's just, that's sort of what was the instigator to actually get me to change my ideas regarding money and all that stuff. So I don't know if you're familiar with all that. If to all the people looking or watching and listening, they might be like, what is he talking about? But I hope, certain words.
Read books, kids. Read books.
Read books.
What are you saying? Read. Learn how to read.
No manga. Actual books. Unlike me, who reads a lot of manga.
What are you talking about?
But they're uncolored pictured books. But yes, that's yeah.
What did you spend most of your money on in high school? Where'd you go to high school?
There was a high school around here by my place called Louisville High, and there really wasn't anything too crazy or too out there about it. It was pretty basic, pretty vanilla. I didn't have a job or anything back then, so for the most part, my parents were kind of the ones, maintaining me and all that stuff, and they buy some of my stuff. But it was actually around the time when I got out of high school and I started working and was able to actually make some money on the side. But in high school, besides video games and any of those really generic things that a high schooler would buy was what I would get with any money that I either earned or had at the time.
Got it. Got it. You're spending a lot of money on sushi and food.
I'm doing that now. Not back then. I am spending a lot of sushi and stuff, but back then, nah. That was a foreign to me. So
all your money's going to sushi right now.
yeah, sushi, and not the crypto sushi, actual food like sushi. I love that stuff. Love sushi.
I love it. You got 3 money tips. Top 3 money tips.
Top 3 money tips. I guess one of them would probably be hold off on what you want to buy. Just because, and if I want to elaborate by that real quick, just if let's say you see something that you want to buy, like really well.
Did you live this? Give your own personal experience on it.
Yeah, well, like I wanted to buy, what was it? A couple of like speakers, because at the time, I had my own computer and I was actually starting into the music production stuff, and I wanted my own speakers. And these things were like what, above the $500 mark, and I was like, man, I can't really, probably should just find another way to actually get that sound, headphones, maybe just kind of find alternatives to what it is, and then, hopefully around that time, whatever it is that you want, it's going to eventually go down in price. Don't jump the gun real quick and buy that super expensive stuff, and then you're like, oh man, I could have just waited like a little bit more time, and they probably would have taken some money off of that. That'd probably be one of my things. That's what I meant by holding off on buying what it is that you want. If you don't really need it, and there's alternatives to what it is that you want, you still find other ways, then just hold off on that. Another one of the tips that I would say for money, I would say maybe like what was it you were saying, like what to do with your money? Is that what you're asking?
Just 3 money tips, for kids. Like, what would you have done differently in your early 20s or,
well, save. Yeah, I knew I was going to say that, but save, if you're, well, here's what I would say. When I started working, what I would do is every check that I would make, I would take a small percentage of it off and put it in like a safe. And that stuff comes in real handy. And I mean, real handy when you need it. Like I think one time there was something with my car. I had like this really crappy '03 Lancer that I bought. Like thing was coming apart, but luckily that's what was able to get me to college and to my job at the time. And something happened. I think it broke down, and that money that I had been saving was just came in handy because it caught me by surprise, and it was a lot of money for what it was. So, taking a small percentage, even if it's 5 or 10% of what it is on your check, it's going to come in handy if you do that for every single check. So, saving by that. And I guess my last tip would be, I was going to say, ask your parents for money. No, find whatever it is that you're good at, find things that you can make quick, easy money off of, whether it's like mowing lawns or just stuff that you really hate doing. I mean, I hate doing manual work, and who doesn't? Just find something that that you don't really like, but at the same time, you can make some money out of it. Whether it's something, what I mean by manual labor and all that stuff, like mowing somebody's lawn, cleaning somebody's house, room, all that stuff. Just any of that kind of stuff, even if it's a small amount of money, do it. And I know some people are just like, oh man, mowing lawns, and oh, I'm going to get dirty, and oh, I'm going to smell, and I'm going to, it's going to take me forever. It teaches you not only about having to, the money that you're actually making, it feels better when you earn it, doing all that hard work. It really does. So I would say that. I mean, they kind of came off generic, but that's just me.
Hey, tried and true, right? Tried and true.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the second topic of the day, which is education. I'll play
Education.
Who were you in high school?
Who was I? Who was I in high school?
Uh-huh.
Like the class clown?
Is that who you were?
Oh yeah, definitely the class clown. That's what I was asking. I was like, oh, the class clown. That's me right there. All right. Yeah. Next topic. No, I'm kidding.
I love it.
Yeah. The class clown. But
What were some challenges you went through in high school or middle school even?
I guess over time it somehow got harder for me to make friends because of being the class clown. Believe it or not, being the class clown isn't like this automatic, like, oh, you're going to bring in so many friends. You might at the beginning, but I think as time goes on, as the older you get in the, from middle school or elementary to middle and middle to high school and so forth, it's just something you kind of have to tone down the stupidity and just kind of like be upfront with people, more like, hey, but that's something I never really took into consideration until now, where, I can freely be not a class clown, just a clown in general. But, I guess people now, as you mature, some people like the funny people, but in that period between middle school to high school, it's kind of hit or miss. And that's one of the struggles, people just kind of have an issue with, or it's difficult for them, including myself.
So you're saying it was difficult for you to make friends now, or
well, no, during that period, during that middle school to high school period, when I was, peak class clown, it got real hard for me to harder for me to make friends.
You have a specific example of like
before sorry, my thing just clicked. So before I want to say before middle school, you just crack a joke, you play those really dumb pranks, not those really stupid YouTube pranks like how they have now, just a dumb prank and, all that kind of stuff. And people just kind of laugh automatically because we're kids. I guess the mentality that you have at that point, but the more you mature, like, those that's what she said jokes and all that stuff, like during that middle school to high school period, it's like you get one person that might laugh and then everybody just kind of look at you like, really? Or you might crack a joke like, oh, like innuendo here and there, and then people just kind of like, cool, and then just kind of walk off or do something like that. But now, I guess like people outside of that like box, just they don't really care. I think people just want to have like more fun now. But during that time, I like, I would play pranks, I would do all that kind of stuff, but it was hit or miss around that time. Now it's like if you do all that stuff, more often than not, you'll actually get people who will laugh with you and just joke around with you. And people who have that same kind of humor with you will just kind of connect easier. If that makes sense.
Definitely. So it's basically people are just trying to be too cool for school.
You're right. Unfortunately, I wasn't the cool kid. I was actually just, like I said, the class clown and just the nerd in some cases, but mostly the class clown.
Got it. What was a defining moment for you in your youth? Not that you're not young, but in your
you should have seen me just a while ago. I actually had my beard. I just shaved. I looked like I was 40 or 50. But no, a defining moment in my youth. See, I don't want to say I haven't had a defining moment or anything like that. It's just I have in my case, I have like these, what I would call them, these mini how would I phrase it? It's like these mini joyful moments, like, oh wow, it's just like something really cool happened and man, this is like, I can't believe I've done this. And then just that realization just kind of fades real quick, like, oh, you graduate, you're done with school, you're done with college. Okay. You feel real like proud. This is just me. I'm like I said, that's not how everybody is. I know everybody, like in certain cases, like they'll have like this one big moment, like, oh man, I can't believe I've been able to make this, or I've went through all this and I came out of it, stronger and better. Excuse me. And in my case, I've just wired a little bit different. Like I have these small moments where I'm like, man, I can't believe I did that. Okay, cool. Now on to the next thing. But I know for some people, it's like, oh man, like they'll think about that moment for like weeks and months and years. But that's just the way I am. Like, I guess one of the many moments I would say is just like I said before, graduating school. It's like, wow, I can't believe, because in my family, I want to say I'm the only one who actually has been able to make it out of high school. My dad didn't. He dropped out before high school. So
What about your brothers?
he's actually already into college right now. He's still in college. But for me, it's like get all that stuff out of the way, and then you feel real good, because it does take a lot to mentally and physically to deal with all that stuff. But other than that, I would say being able to like. I was gonna say paying bills is kind of like feels like a very youthful, not a youthful moment, or what did you say? I'm sorry. Defining. I think of them as like it's my standards are kind of going a little bit low, I know, but it's like you pay that because it's like, hey, a long time ago you couldn't do that yourself. You had somebody always doing that for you, and now you're able to do it. Now you're able to actually take care of yourself. Taking care of yourself, being able to like do so much for yourself that you couldn't do a decade or so ago. Stuff like that, I know, but like I said, I'm wired a little bit different, as you can clearly see.
What's your zodiac sign?
Zodiac sign, is that like the animal, or no? I was gonna say Virgo. I was about to say like are you talking about the animals? I always get those mixed up, like the
You're a Virgo?
Yes, I am.
Okay, well that makes more sense. What
is that supposed to mean? I'm kidding.
Yeah, it's very methodical. Virgos are just like boom, they're earth signs, so it's your typically Virgos are not gonna like be like Elon Musk and be like, we're going to the moon. Virgos are more like, hey, I know this works and I'm gonna pound it, because I know this works because it's tried and true type stuff.
I like that.
And you need those people in the world, because they're the most logical. A lot of scientists. When did you graduate high school? What year?
2012.
Okay, graduated 2012. And then what did you study in college?
Economics.
Okay, you have a degree in economics. Okay, tell us. What was your most educational experience in your life? Was it in school? Was it a teacher? Was it,
So it was a couple of, it was, in school, out of school, and I guess with other people, like in my own friend, like in my own circle of friends. And let me just go through by those real quick. I don't want to, take too much time, but one of them, was in the school one, for this one, I had my teacher at the time. He actually kind of saw how I was struggling at first, because I really wasn't, like, to me, economics was something that still interests me. But at that time, I wasn't aware of like the actual numbers and all that kind of stuff that came with it. So my teacher was like, well, you know what? Here's what you have to do. Like, don't look at it as like this formulaic kind of way you do it. Always be able to kind of find a way to go outside of the box and all that kind of, like corny stuff. But that was something that at that moment I was like, I was like so focused and like dead set on just doing it the way they always told me. But when I stopped and actually, started looking at it from the outside, I was like, oh, okay, that kind of makes sense. And then after a while, he actually, it surprised me, because he was one of those few people who, out of the teachers that I had, was very, hands-on. Is that the right way to say it? He was very like approachable, like, yeah, he's very approachable. I guess that'd probably be a better way to put it. He'd be like, yeah, come talk to me. Like, what do you tell me? And we'd have these discussions, not just about economics, but just about how, the way the world works, and just all this kind of stuff, like these philosophical kind of talks. And that's something I never really had with a teacher ever up until that point. So It kind of threw me off, but I learned a lot about him, and he learned a lot about me. And he was actually able to be one of those few people who actually cheered me on to kind of, I told him about what I wanted to do with my economics degree and all that stuff. And he's like, you know what, go ahead and do it. That's something that kind of people really want to, believe it or not, people want to actually hear. from somebody like, oh, hey, you know, them cheering you on, that stuff actually means a whole lot, despite, you know, believe it or not, like, oh, hey, you know, help you out and all that stuff. You know, I know you can do it.
Definitely.
Do it if you really want to do that stuff. Actually kind of like hits you really hard when you know, when you least expect it. But and then the other one, you know, and outside of work, it's like you see all these people. I guess there's people who kind of claim to know economics, and that's the outside experience that I kind of know.
A big example. You're kind of observing. I want like personal experiences. Like, what are you specifically talking about in terms of these outside people?
Well, it's like people you would see have these discussions, like, you know, when you would see them.
Name names. Name names. I need a place. I need times. When did you see this? Where is this? There has to be a memory that's bringing you up to this.
So I want to say right around 2016.
Here we go. Yeah, 2016.
Okay.
Yes.
when the whole election, I don't want to keep bringing the politics stuff up, but I guess it's just for the sake of the conversation. When the politics and all the stuff right before the 2016 election, I had a lot of people who we at the time, like in my college, we'd actually meet up with a lot of like outside groups, and like we'd talk about economics and the political stuff. And then you had these people who would kind of just join us because, hey, it's these weirdos talking about economics. You know, not somebody out there, you know, you see people like having their own little groups, playing their games or some other kind of clubs. It essentially was kind of like a club. And these people would kind of just jump in there and just, you know, they throw in their opinions and all this stuff. And you're just like somebody who actually has the experience, and you're just kind of looking at them like, what are you talking about? Like they'll say just stuff that is completely just backwards, and you don't know whether to feel, it's not so much sympathy or just kind of like, I don't know what the feeling is. It's just like, you don't want to.
What do they say?
Well, it's like they'll, I think right around the time, it's like, oh, well, who was running in 2016? Donnie and I call him Donnie. I don't know why. Donnie and Hillary. Hillary? Was it Hillary? Yeah. Okay. But I think it's like, well, Hillary is going to, you know, was it cut taxes? And it's like, wait, I never heard her say this. And it's like, you know, if they cut taxes and we're going to do this and that, and they're going to bring back jobs and this stuff. And it's like, if they can do it, they can bring all this stuff back. They can promise all this stuff. And it's like, do you know how that stuff works though? It's like, yeah. And it's like, they'll tell you, like, they're so enthusiastic about it too. That's the thing that kind of weirded me out. It's like, yeah, they're going to do this, and all these other countries, they're going to just thrive off of what we're doing. And we're doing all this, and, you know, the environment. And it's just like buzzwords. Yeah. It's like the buzzwords, and there's just this really weird stuff. And like I said, it's, you're talking to somebody who's been heavily involved in that, and you're just kind of like these people don't have any actual, I don't want to say they don't have any actual experience, but they don't have anybody to kind of lead them towards like where they should probably start, which would make sense before they actually kind of start making these weird claims. And
they don't understand
opinions.
Demand.
What was that? I'm sorry.
They don't understand supply and demand.
They don't. But I forgot the other one. I just, because these kind of memories and stuff you're helping me bring back up, just kind of, you know, I remember them, but then I don't remember them completely, and then it's like, oh god, now I do remember, and it's like my mind just kind of tried to shut that stuff off and block it off for some reason.
We'll get to the last topic of the day then. Here, move on to love. I'm sure we can bring back many memories from you. Let's play another chord. All right.
I wish I knew how to play that thing.
Love. So for love, hey, what is love?
Baby, don't hurt me. What is love? I'm sorry. What is love? What is love? See, I don't know if I could really answer that, just because it's very subjective, at least to me. Like, what is love? Like, I could say it's like this attraction to somebody.
Who was your first love?
Who was my damn? That is oh, does she have to be real, or can she be fictional? Because if I can go more for the fictional one than the real one, but just because I don't want to increase the cringe. Actually, you know what? Just for your show right here, I'll increase the cringe load. My first actual fictional love, and my mom could actually tell you. She probably would laugh if she found out. Was what's her face? Kiki from Kiki's Delivery Service.
The Witch.
Yes, but this is when I was like 9 or 10, so it was fine back then. But no, we're talking about like real, actual person. My first love would have been, oh man. See, now if we're going all the way back, I can't like remember. I would say probably my first girlfriend, which was, believe it or not, actually my first. I never had a girlfriend up until like my last year of high school, and her name was Summer. Only lasted about 2 weeks though, but you know, for that while, it, you know, the attraction, the stuff, and
well, you
the
know,
emotions.
make sure your mom doesn't see this because I was kind of expecting you to say your mom, but that's fine.
Yeah, she's probably asleep now, so.
No worries, Mom. You're not my first love. Don't care about you. Not a big deal.
I hope she didn't hear that. No kidding.
Who was
like,
what's your I talk to a lot of kids, and a lot of times they always tell me, you know, I have a tough time talking to my dad. I have a tough time communicating with my parents.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever go through anything like that? You know, what's your relationship with your parents like?
Well, so with my father, before he actually passed away a few years ago, it was kind of like really with him. It was like he seemed more distant at times, but when there was something that kind of, you know, I see there's things like I remember about it, like, you know, he was a very, I don't want to say he's a weird guy, but he was just kind of one of those like stern kind of dads who kind of would just, who you see in those movies. It's like, oh, he's so strict and he doesn't tell you that he loves you, but he deep down, he really does. And it's kind of like he wouldn't show that, but I knew he would, because, you know, when I was younger, one of the key things that I remember, it's like him and I would watch, and my younger brother, we'd watch Dragon Ball Z together, and he would get into it too. And we know we were kids and we get into it, and he would watch these cartoons with us, and he would actually remember them, which is weird because most of your parents, you'd expect parents, like as time goes by, they wouldn't remember, or they just kind of be like, oh, but it's like he'd bring up like his favorite character was Piccolo, and he'd always, because he's Cuban, so he'd have the real thick accent. He'd say Piccolo. He would say it like that, or Vegeta, he would say fajita, but he would say it like the most hilarious ways. But there's things like that. It's like, I guess it's not so much that it's hard to actually communicate. It's just a parent might actually find something that they would like, that a child might actually like too. And believe it or not, it's whether it's video games, whether it's movies, whether it's forms of, I'd say forms of entertainment would actually be a great way to get you and your parents to actually not really bond, but more like find this, like, I don't know, connection or something. So, and with my mom, it's the same thing. It's like her and I, she likes watching horror movies. I love horror movies. We've been, you know, well, it's like, hey, you know, if her and I, you know, have an argument or something, it's like, oh, but you know what? There's something that we can kind of make amends, and then find horror movies as a form of, like, you know,
something in common.
Yeah, something in common. So that's I guess what it would be like. Just find there's something that parents have in common, with their kids. So it's not so hard. Easier for me, easier said than done. But I guess it's just in my case, it's like I always found something with both of them to actually kind of bond with, and able to make communication or communicate with them regarding, you know.
I love that. Mm-hmm. Just wanted to touch on this, you know. Mm-hmm. I've talked to a lot of people who've lost their parents, mm-hmm. either parents or one parent, mm-hmm. in school, you know, mm-hmm. or in middle school, like at some point in their youth, you know, mm-hmm. having lost a parent, you know, how did you get through it? You know, what would you say to these kids who might be going through it at a much younger?
Well, I don't want to say lucky for me. It happened when I was, you know, this was like a few years ago. It's it's I think as you grow older, you have, it's not like you're gonna, I don't know how to explain it. It's like, I think when you're younger, when you're in that really like toddler period, you don't really know.
Before that, let's just go through, make it easy. Top 3 things you did when your dad died.
Well, cried was one of them. Went through a lot of my family albums, I think a little bit after that. And I don't know, just like was able to actually talk to his friends and his like people that he was, friendly with, and the family and all that stuff, from his side. That's the things I did whenever he passed away. The first things that would come up.
How you have any, like, does it get easier as time goes by, or
I wouldn't say it gets easier. I'd say over time you kind of just you stop thinking about the what led up to, or you stop thinking about the end of their lives, and you start remembering more of like the good things. So, when my father passed away, obviously I was broken by it. Like, it's something that's, you still, it sticks with you. But I think after a while, you kind of just stop, like, remembering the way they looked and the way they were at the end of their lives. And you start remembering, like, man, I remember when we were doing all this stuff, and, the good memories actually overcome all the sadness and negativity that you don't really want to dwell on, especially as time goes by, because I had one of my friends, his mother passed away, and I was really close, and he's been able to get over it. But those first few years, it was just like something that he was just, it got to him where it would just like, he wasn't able to do anything. But it's different. Like, people were able to overcome it. Some people aren't. But in my circumstance, as time went on, I started, like I said, I remember all the really great fun stuff that him and I were able to, and as a family, we were all able to do. So
I love that. I love that. And then how has it affected your brother? Have you, do you ask him about it, or is he like, don't talk to me?
no, no, he's not that much of a jerk. Well, he is, but regarding the topic of our father, we'll talk about, like, it's not something that we just kind of, oh, hey, you remember this and that. It's something like, well, we'll have a conversation, and then if it's something that we liked, that he liked, or that that we have, that he was able to give us, or things like that, the conversation is only like for a few minutes, and it's like, I guess we've both kind of like just kind of not really want to dwell on it too much, but we're able to actually bring out the good and the good vibes that he was able to kind of give us and bring to the family.
I love it. Okay. Well, just to wrap it up, then let's end on a lighter note. What is one piece of life advice you have for the youth? This was the last thing you're ever gonna say in the world. What would you say?
Die Hard is a Christmas movie. No, I'm kidding. One of the pieces of advice I would say is, if there's something that you really love and really want to do it, but don't expect to succeed at it. And I know that's something you're like, what? Because there were so many things for me that I wanted to do, and I was able to get a certain amount of them done, not a lot. But don't give up after the first, even if you fail 20 something times out of whatever it is you're doing. The dedication and the hard work and everything you're putting into it will pay off in the end, most definitely. So don't give up after the first few tries. Keep going, and don't I don't want to say don't have high expectations, but just remember that there's always a light at the end of the tunnel for all the work you're putting into it. So don't give up. Just keep going. Like the greatest man ever said in the world, John Cena, never give up.
Never give up, guys. I
Never
love
give
it.